Yeah, it's coming down. Okay. Hello, hello. Oh, hi there, Ella. Lovely to see your face. Ah, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Oh, hi there, Eric. Lovely to see you. Hi, Rachel. Hey, Lucas. Hey, Tim. Oh, hey, Ritz. Thanks for being here as always. Um, so we're going to be starting at about 3 minutes past the hour. If you'd like to share where in the world you're joining us from and how you're feeling in 3 words this morning. So share in the chat. Where are you joining us from and how are you feeling in this moment in 3 words? For those of you just joining, we'll be starting in about a minute or so. If you'd like to share where you're joining us from and how you're feeling in this moment in 3 words. Hey, Cam. Morning, Dom. And Dave. Hi there, Tucker. Thanks for joining us. Alrighty. All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is an incredible turnout, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So let me share my screen. Can everyone see the slides? Thumbs up. Yep. Sweet. Great. Uh, okay. So I will preface this by saying this is a very experimental workshop. I've never done this before, and I've no idea how this is going to go. And also, selfishly, I'm kind of curious to see how all of you guys are thinking about kind of integrating AI into your life, in particular in a kind of coaching context. So the flow that I have in mind for the next 55 minutes or so is essentially kind of like an exploration together of like why is a nervous system coach or an AI coach of any kind of useful? Like what are we trying to do here? And then I've set aside kind of 20 to 25 minutes to actually build some shit. So I'm going to be kind of guiding you through the process of kind of putting together like a lightweight version one coach for yourself. And then we kind of go into like show and tell questions. What do we notice kind of at the end? So that's like very brief overview. You will need some kind of either Claude or ChatGPT free account in order to do the building bit, obviously. So if you don't have an account already, it's probably worth signing up for one while I'm doing my kind of intro spiel. Okay, so does that sound good? So hopefully by the end of this, you'll actually have like some functional kind of AI nervous system coach by the end of the 60 minutes. That is the intention. Um, okay, so why the heck build a nervous system AI coach? Well, I kind of wanted to ask you this question to begin with. Well, like, what do you guys see as being the potential, kind of broadly? What motivations or reasons do you have for joining this session today? Um, and also, what explorations have you already had with either Claude or ChatGPT that kind of has given you a sense that there's something here to explore and it's worth investing some time into? So, I'd love to hear from you guys. What have you noticed already? Um, and feel free to raise your hand, or virtual hand or real hand. And yeah, I just love to hear from some of you guys. Yes, Adrian.
So hi Johnny, first of all.
Okay.
I've been testing this for a while now, especially with like journaling.
Hmm.
And I've noticed that AI is amazing with the pattern recognition. And I'm excited for this workshop because I was trying to build something on my own,
Hmm.
along those lines to sort of help myself on day-to-day basis. So to clear that, residue we collect every day. So this is what I've noticed. It's good with pattern recognition and noticing things in my writing or when I speak to it, to notice something I miss.
Nice. So have you been kind of uploading like journal responses and journal entries and things, or
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, but basically, yes, or taking pictures of because I like to write. It also gives some power to release stuff, but I'm trying to either take a picture or speak out loud and try to um decipher
Mm,
what's the real meaning behind.
nice, beautiful. Thank you, Adrian. That's great. Ritz, hi there. Very curious what you have to say here.
Well, I'm a tech geek, so I built an AI coach and an AI coaching supervisor.
Mm,
Um, and actually it works really, really well in a generic way. I
mm,
think the challenge with AI coaching is the fact that it misses the fundamentals of what makes coaching really, really special. So the
mm,
human connection,
mm,
co-regulation, connection in general, what Joe Hudson calls view. So
mm,
that stuff is missing altogether. But where it really, really shines is if you're a coach and you upload your coaching transcripts and you ask it to interrogate your coaching style. That's incredibly interesting.
mm, mm,
So it has its uses, but I still think the human touch is something that is really important in coaching, and I'm not prepared to step away from it. But then again, I'm biased, so of course I said something.
So just to be clear, you've been using it to get feedback on your own kind of work as a coach by uploading
Right.
transcripts with your clients.
Yeah, and I've been playing a little bit from a coaching perspective. And actually, if you're going to use it for very, very specific use cases, either on a particular domain that you have some information or knowledge about, it can
Mm,
be very powerful about that if you upload your own content.
hmm.
And equally, if you've got a second brain in digital format, it can be very powerful for those types of things as well. So it works really well on journals if you've got it all in electronic format.
Mm,
As far as coaching and telling you what to do is concerned, it tends to be very directive, and good coaching isn't directive.
mm. Yeah, totally. Totally beautiful. I fully agree. Um, Tucker, I'm curious if you're open to sharing some of your explorations as well. I feel like this might be a good time. Uh,
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone. So I made I called it an AI White House guide, and I'll drop a link to the Substack article. It's kind of gone mini viral by my standards because I just made a Substack account a week ago, and I'm getting messages every day from random people saying that they found it really helpful. Yeah, so I use the integral. There's a very simple framework from integral theory called wake up, clean up, grow up, show up. And waking up is sort of about non-dual spiritual realization. Cleaning up is around shadow work and trauma healing. Growing up is around exploring our developmental edges and coming into broader perspective taking. And showing up is around how, our passion, our purpose, our dharma, what we're here to do of service. So I took this framework and I created a long article that goes into detail about uploading different documents that I've had from the past, and then inviting Claude in a Claude project to basically speak to me through some different frames and through some different methodologies that I found really helpful in my own life. And I've just been completely blown away. I was a total AI Luddite for all of 2024. I had no interest in using it. And now I can't really see a way in which I wouldn't use it almost every day for very basic things. Like today I woke up grumpy. I had some bad dreams last night. And so, I could just kind of share into Claude what my experience is, and it's able to use my own language, my own meaning making structures to really help me investigate myself in a much more intimate way than if I was just kind of sitting by myself and then kind of getting distracted and scrolling to this kind of avoid my emotions. So it's a way to create a depth of intimacy with all the different dimensions of my human and more than human experience. And yeah, invite you all to check it out.
That's amazing. And it's funny, I think I saw your Substack post maybe like yesterday or the day before yesterday. And yeah, we've been thinking along such similar lines, just around like how to use it and what is helpful. So definitely recommend people check out Tucker's post there as well as like an additional kind of perspective. And I think maybe the kind of broader point here is that there are so many different ways that you can use this. And I think more than anything, I'd love for everyone to kind of feel empowered to experiment for themselves and to kind of design something that's useful for your specific scenario. So thank you, Tucker. Really appreciate
Yeah,
you sharing.
thanks.
Um, okay, so the next question that I was kind of wanting to touch on briefly before we move on is like what holds you back? Like for people that maybe haven't used AI so far, or maybe have used it a little bit but didn't really get any value. What are some of the reasons that it may not be a good idea, or what are some of the limits and the boundaries to kind of AI coaching more broadly? And feel free to write in the chat here, just kind of what comes to mind. Um, and Ritz already touched on a couple. There's kind of no human to human co-regulation. Maybe encouraging us to spend more time in front of screens. Maybe there's even like a dehumanizing fear here as well. No, no real compassion. Hmm. The context setting can be quite a big lift. Absolutely. Privacy concerns. Yep. Lack of feeling seen. Fear of bad advice. Yeah, or hallucinations. Do we just get locked into our existing perspectives as opposed to be open to new ones? Which AI to use? There are so many products available. Yeah. Everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt. Yep. Need to make sure it's working. Worldview echo chamber. Yeah. Creating a self-sustaining loop instead of real reflection. Hmm. Impossible to incorporate with nature-based perspectives or experiences. Are we further disembodying ourselves? Yeah, these are really, really, really valid um, kind of challenges. Maybe too complex to learn. Hopefully that one is losing sight of embodied knowledge, incognito mode. Yeah, okay. These are amazing. Um, so I think some of these this workshop might be able to address. But before I kind of go into like the building side of things, I want to share kind of three ideas. The interface writing takes too long. Well, I think with some of these you can speak directly to them. I know with ChatGPT, for example, has voice mode, which is actually much more efficient than just typing everything. So, okay, so three kind of ideas. This is to give context as to how I'm thinking about AI in general in a coaching context. So, this image is from a. If anyone's seen the Netflix series Magicians, this is from that show, and they had this interesting concept where every single character in the series has like a book of life. And in this book has everything they've ever done, said, thought, etc. And they could kind of go to this huge library and take out these books. So I'm kind of imagining that these books are essentially kind of what is missing from our current AI interactions. Generally, if you kind of spin up a chat with Claude or ChatGPT, even if it has some memory about you, the context will be pretty limited compared with, say, a therapist or a coach who maybe you've been working with for like years. And so, really, I think part of the biggest hurdle here is, or the biggest bottleneck, is kind of giving your AI coach companion enough context that its reflections can be kind of precise, nuanced, and just not generic. So I like the idea of creating a document, could be a Google Doc, could be a PDF, called a Codex Vitae, which is kind of a fancy Latin way of saying your book of life. And I imagine, like, I've been doing this already, kind of importing this document between different AI platforms as I'm experimenting. So that's kind of one idea. And the more, obviously, there's privacy concerns here. And so you can kind of use like maybe local AI instances if you're afraid of that. I mean, if you're really afraid of privacy, I'd almost recommend not doing this at all. Um, but I have my privacy kind of threshold is probably lower than most people. So that's the first thought. Second thought is this idea of centaurs. And this comes from, I believe, kind of the world of chess. I think it's actually changed now, but for a period of time, a, a human chess player plus an AI could actually outperform and beat just an AI on its own. And I think this is kind of true for coaching. So I definitely don't think that AI will replace human coaches or therapists, but I do think that human coach plus AI teams will be more valuable than just the human. Um, and so this centaur idea came from chess, but I think it applies to coaching. And I think more and more coaches will kind of begin to offer a kind of like coach uh, coach AI like along with their service that will be kind of used for interim conversations and kind of built up over time. Um, so that's, at least that's what I'm planning on doing myself, and I imagine many other people will as well. And then this, for any Harry Potter fans, is the Mirror of Erised, which is desire spelled backwards. And I think this is in some ways kind of how the best metaphor that I know of for how to use AI well. And it's kind of as this like very intimate mirror. And that phrase comes from my friend Daniel Thorson, who has a great Substack series. But and the idea here, kind of going back to the self-knowledge piece, is the more that you reveal to it, the more that you can show through your, let's say, Codex Vitae, the more that it can show back to you. So again, kind of self-knowledge being the bottleneck here. Um, and it certainly can't replace human connection, but if you're curious about learning more about yourself or kind of receiving wise reflections, then I think it can, the optimistic take for me here is that AI can help kind of enhance our humanity and reveal more to ourselves, and kind of accelerate our own guided intellectual and somatic introspective experience. Thanks, Dom, for sharing Daniel Thorson's Substack link. He's got some great writing on there as well. The paid ones are especially good. Okay, feel free to share thoughts on this in the chat as well, if anything is coming up. But this is kind of like my premise, so to speak. Okay, well, with that as context, let's make some shit. So this is kind of the approach that I'm going to try and take us through. This might be ambitious for one workshop, but we'll see how it goes. So there's essentially 3 steps to creating this code for yourself. The first is what I call vibe engineering, and that's basically crafting the custom instructions for how you would like your coach to speak to you. This is super important. And I've got a template here. And then the second step, which really would take potentially kind of more than an hour or so to do a decent first version, but it's this idea of building a Codex Vitae. So creating a document, could be a Google Doc, whatever text document that has more context about yourself than a typical AI usually would. And again, I'll be guiding you through this. And then we'll have some time to explore various prompts and scenarios and kind of ideas for jumping off points. So I had some fun yesterday and I basically made a Notion page and linked it to this URL that I just created for the workshop. So I'm going to post this in here. Hopefully this works and you can open this up in your screen. And I might do a screen share here as well. And I'm also going to share, this is a Google Doc template for anyone that doesn't want to use Notion. And this is basically where you're going to be outputting your answers into and using as your codex vitae. So it's probably easiest here if I just screen share on my side. Let's see. Da, 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 da. So I'll just okay. All right, you guys can see my screen, and you can also kind of have this open in your own computer as well. So this is the kind of process that I'm going to be walking through. So the first step is this. Oh, I'll also mention that at the top here, my friend Paul inputted this text document into Claude, and it created a pretty compelling web app, just like single shot, like right out the gate. It needs a bit of ironing out, but if you want to have some fun, you can play with that later as well. That's this web app here. What does it mean ironing out? Improving. Sorry, that's maybe a British phrase. Okay, so this is the kind of the custom instructions. You are welcome to obviously edit this for yourself. You can kind of input how you would like it to speak to you. I also like to name my AI coach. It just kind of feels fun. There's no need to if you don't want to. And so this will kind of get inputted into your project custom instructions. And you can do this as I'm speaking, or you can do this afterwards. So the second phase, this is kind of the bigger lift here. This is creating your nervous system codex vitae. You can kind of, if you use ChatGPT or Claude a fair bit, you can kind of streamline this process by giving it the prompt, please create a detailed biography of my life. And it will kind of give you like, a rough version with some of the basic information. But the main kind of work here is you can do this without the prompt, but I actually think it's easier to do it with, using ChatGPT or Claude to kind of create your answer. It's kind of nice using a conversational style. You can do this either written or you can do it talking. But basically you kind of upload this, and then I would recommend, for the purposes of this kind of workshop, choosing maybe like 3 to 5 of these questions that feel the most interesting and relevant for you to answer. But obviously, at a later point, you can kind of go through all of these yourself and add more in. Some of these they might need more context around, like, what is a self-regulation strategy, things like that. It's kind of from the nervous system course that I teach. But the idea here is this is a kind of really good starting point for information that would be valuable to include in your Codex Vitae document, which it otherwise wouldn't usually have access to, and you wouldn't have kind of revealed. So that's the second phase. And then the third phase, this is kind of optional, but I think it's useful to kind of define the cadence at which you plan on using this. So for example, I've put in like a 45 recurring calendar invite in my calendar to just play with this, like I would with a regular coach. Maybe it's twice, maybe it's once every 2 weeks, maybe it's once a week. But that's actually really helpful, and it's kind of a big part of accountability with a normal coach. This is optional, but you can kind of add like a fun financial incentive. Maybe you kind of send a certain amount of money to a charity based on how valuable you thought it was, et cetera, et cetera. And then also, I think it's helpful to kind of schedule maybe monthly or quarterly updates to your Codex Vitae document to kind of update the information that it has about you in a more kind of comprehensive way. And then finally, we're just going to kind of explore some scenarios and prompts. In here, I've kind of added in some of the prompts that I found to be most illuminating, interesting, and helpful. And again, these are kind of designed to get your own kind of brain cylinders firing. And you're welcome to use as many of these as feels relevant. So a really good one for today might be something like this Edge Challenge one. And you can kind of see some Edge Challenge examples here as well. like help coach me through an ed challenge that's important to me. Um, Also one around avoiding burnout or energy audit and setting boundaries. Um, if you have access to kind of blood work results, then you can kind of upload those results as well. A template to help you say no. So there's lots of kind of like prompt ideas that I've added in here. And then these ones below are more general coaching and not necessarily related to the nervous system, but I think still interesting to explore. Um, so yeah, that's kind of an overview of the document. So I'm going to set a timer for, let's say, like we'll do 15 minutes. And basically, actually, just before we do, I'll just show you how I would for anyone that isn't sure quite how this would work. Um, Basically, once you have your codex vitae, then you just go to say ChatGPT, do like create projects, Quora, nervous system coach, create project. And then from here, I would just copy in, add instructions. So this is where I'd add in my custom instructions here. I would save, and then I've kind of pre-prepared this, but you just drag in your, where is it? Here we go. So I just exported my Codex Vitae Google Doc and just drop it in here. And then you can going with the scenario. So let's say I would go into uh, one of the prompts. Let's say um, I just copy this prompt, bring it over to ChatGPT, and then kind of get going and then play around. So hopefully that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions before we kick off for the next kind of 15 minutes? Ella says creating a custom GPT. So you definitely can. I like using a project in ChatGPT because it has the projects I think still have access to other memories, whereas custom GPTs are kind of more generic. So I like projects as opposed to custom GPTs, but it's kind of up to you. ChatGPT versus Claude, great question. So the new Claude 3.7 is freaking fantastic. The upside of chat is I think it has much better memory functions. So if you've used it a lot, it will be helpful. But Claude has almost like people describe it as like more like soulful vibes and like more friendly vibes. Some people have said ChatGPT feels like arrogant or kind of aloof, which is funny. But really, I would say whichever one you're most familiar with, both can be really, really effective. You don't need a paid account on either, I believe. Yeah, this will work with a free account. Okay, any final questions before we get going? Everyone have enough context on what we're doing here? Okay, great. I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. Off you go. Okay, in about a minute or so, if you haven't already kind of done a draft of your Codex Vitae, and I guess there's obviously way more you can add. It might feel stupidly limited, but I think it'll be helpful to export that into a project and just try a couple of the prompts and scenarios, just so you can have a sense for what this is like, and then you can always come back and add to and edit the Codex Vitae document after the workshop. Okay, just another minute or so. So, begin to finish up the conversation or the prompt that you're working on. Okay. Um, I realized that was a very short period of time. But that said, I'm curious if anyone was able to create anything interesting or if anything came up in that process, either creating the Codex Vitae and maybe spark some ideas, or in terms of some of the prompts that you guys played with. Um, yeah, want to open up for reflections, sharing questions from anyone, really.
Can we speak, or do you want us to just type something in the chat?
Feel free to raise your hand. I think it'd be nice if this is like, I mean, you can write in the chat as well, but I think let's do old-fashioned communication. Adrian.
Oh, yeah, that was me.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Okay, great.
oh, that's the other Adrian. You know what? I'm Adrian also, so I apologize. I'm a female
No,
Adrian.
I apologize. That's great. You go. It's great. I'm just trying to find you so I can spotlight you.
I'll put myself on video.
That's great. Oh, nice.
Okay. So I was able to complete the Codex Vitae, and very informational. It was really kind of spot on, to be quite honest, just with a little bit of information that I provided.
Mhm.
I did use Claude for the very first time. I found it to be a lot more conversational than the Chat GPT.
Mhm.
So so yeah, I mean, these are some really good takeaways, and I liked how they formatted everything too. So yeah,
Mm.
that's what I got done so far.
Okay, great. Really nice work. Yeah. Keep playing. Keep having fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
Glad it was helpful. Thank you, Adrian. Okay, Adrian number two.
Would it be me? I'm really surprised by the insights it was offering, because
Mm,
obviously my answers were really short when it comes to the founding document, and I used the prompts with which emotions I may avoid,
mm,
and I was dead surprised with the questions I got. It was scary. So I just imagined what would happen if I properly fill out the documents.
Yep.
And trying to build something like this myself, I'm really surprised how in depth you went with creating the structure and
Mhm.
scaffolding for this.
Mm,
And I don't know if we have time for this, but quick question: how do you choose methodologies? Because the problem I faced was
mm,
there are so many of them. It's
mm,
hard to pinpoint what exactly to choose to give the biggest benefit?
Yeah.
And how did you come up with the list?
Yeah, great question. So, like full caveat, I haven't, A/B tested this much. I basically took the approach of dumping in the modalities and philosophies that I've personally benefited from humans and given enough in there, trusting that it will know the relevant context to bring up each one. That's kind of the approach that I took. I could also imagine, it'd be interesting to compare if you say, just you are a Hakomi practitioner, for example, and just only go with that approach versus giving it more options. I tend to find that sometimes there's a time and a place for like a more fierce, kind of loving, direct reflection of the style that like Joe Hudson will do. And then there's a good time and a place for much more gentle, receptive, like Hakomi based kind of coaching where you're just asking questions and reflecting. So again, I think it's partly personal taste, and partly just experimentation.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Cool. Leo.
Yeah, awesome. No, I appreciate this because like I've done some things around AI coaches in the past, and I haven't quite gotten the feel of them right. And I was actually really impressed with how accurately it was able to quickly identify the area, like the problem areas that I've been working on, right?
Mm-hmm,
So the
mm-hmm,
fact that like I've already been working on those was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely in a line with
mm-hmm,
how I'm doing. And that was kind of, I think, the piece that was missing in my previous approach. I didn't have quite the right context. And
mm-hmm,
so yeah, this Codex Vitae is a fantastic way to do that. And I think it's yeah, just extremely spot on for like yeah, I've tried to do this quite a few times and just never quite nailed it, but I think this really captures it well.
Amazing, amazing. And something I didn't mention, but it's really worth doing is if you have a valuable chat like that, you can kind of at the end say, please summarize the key takeaways from this so that I can then update my document. And then it'll kind of be there by default. And, over the course of time, the document will just expand and hopefully context windows will as well. But I think, even now you can upload like a 30, 40 page document and it'll handle it fine. So yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Leo. Any other reflections or questions? Pauline says, does it understand if you prompt it to coach like Joe Hudson, or do you give it specific upload info? Yeah, I think there's actually enough info about Joe. If it's pulling from YouTube, you could certainly try and see what happens. Any other kind of reflections or questions? Betsy?
Yeah, I've been in tech for like 40 years, and I'm so used to just waiting until all the iterations go by. And so that's how I've been about
Mhm.
This. But I just want to thank you. This is a great way to get into it for the first time. I just didn't want to take the mental energy to figure it all out. And
Yeah,
I
totally.
am so excited about it. I probably used Weebot. I'm thinking it was 9 years ago.
Mm.
Um, so I've been
Wow.
interested in the category. Plus, there's
Yeah.
people that are interested in taking work from my book and
Mm.
things that I do and make it into a chatbot. And
Mhm.
it'll be really interesting. I'm just, thank you. It got me into it.
Yeah, no, you're so welcome. And I mean, I could imagine that it would be possible to create many versions of these custom instructions and kind of Codex Vitae prompts depending on the particular flavor that you're interested in. But yeah, I'm super glad it was helpful.
So I could load it with things like my book and other things I've written
Hmm.
as source information. And then people could basically, everybody's wanted a Betsy bot for a long time. So yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, you absolutely could. You could also create like a custom, it would be a custom GPT that was trained on all of the information that you can give it about yourself. And yeah, you give it a try.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, someone actually tried to start a business a couple of years ago but it was still to take all my stuff and do that.
Mm,
And but it was still too early.
yeah. Yeah, it does feel like we're kind of crossing a threshold now where technology is good enough that it can be surprisingly powerful. Yeah,
Anyone who writes a book, if it's like an advice kind of book, they can just do this too.
yeah, totally.
Great.
Totally. All right. Thank you, Betsy.
Sure. Thank you.
Um, yeah, Seth Godin he's been experimenting with this quite a bit
Right.
and he's done a good one. Ritz mentioned. Yeah, there's a few of them out there now. Um, yeah, the roasting I mean, the more context you give it, the more brutal the roasts will be. So approach that with caution. Um, yeah, okay, great. Well, if there's no other further questions or curiosities, hopefully this has been um interesting and illuminating and given you enough sense of like what is possible here and some directions to go in. I do want to make a shout out for the Nervous System Mastery course, which is starting in a couple of weeks. Applications close on Friday, and we're going to be bringing some of this stuff into this cohort for the first time as well. So if you want to kind of keep working on your Codex Vitae doc and kind of practicing this is going to be woven into the next cohort as well. So making a plug for that. The link is nsmastery.com. Ocean, if you want to drop it in for people. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Travis. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for sharing, for kind of coming to this like experimental session. And yeah, I hope it's been useful. I look forward to seeing anyone in the cohort for those of you who are joining. Yes, there is a discount as well. If you use the code coach, COACH, I'll make that right after the session, and that'll be a $250 discount. Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and thanks Dom for the plug. And yeah, see you guys soon. All right, take care.